Every time I give this speech, I'm always asked, Ray, as a school superintendent, what do you think of this proposal to arm employees in school? The principal, the custodian, whatever. Not only do I think it's a good idea, I think we ought to take it farther. We ought to arm the kids, mostly. It would have to be done in a developmentally and age-appropriate fashion. So, for example, the high school kids, they would get the assault weapons because of their advanced maturity levels. The primary and intermediate kids, they would get a small concealable handgun that's easily hidden in a backpack or a lunch bag. Early childhood kids, the 3 to 5 year olds, they couldn't handle a gun. So we give them a slingshot because not only is it for their own safety, it helps develop those fine motor skills that we're trying to encourage at that age. Now, the only students that I wouldn't arm are the middle school kids for the obvious reason. Puberty. They've already got enough crazy stuff going on in their heads. I don't want to add to their issues at that age. I think, modestly, that this is a brilliant proposal to keep kids safe in school. Except that it's just missing one thing. Just one thing. What's it missing? Common sense. It's just missing common sense. And I think this whole debate on how we keep children safe in schools has been missing common sense a lot. And so I want to put forth a perspective on how we keep children safe in schools that introduces maybe a little bit of common sense and a little bit of reality too about the schools that we have in our country. So that's the perspective. And I'm not speaking just as a superintendent who's responsible for 4,000 children and 600 employees. I'm also speaking about school safety as a parent, as a father, as a dad who sends his daughter off to school every day and hopes, prays, and believes that she's going to come home safely. So it's from that perspective. And what I want to do is offer 3 facts, 2 fictions, 1 fairy tale. First, facts. First fact is that school shootings is not new in this country. We've had school shootings since the 1700s. It's different today, though. It's different. Earlier, the first school shootings that we saw, it was the unhappy spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend thing, and the intended target just happened to be working at the school. The person just happened to be there, and the offender went to the school and shot the person there. For those of us who have lived in the Chicago area for some time, we probably all remember the name Lori Dana, who in 1988 went into a Winnetka Elementary School and shot and killed a 2nd grader and injured 2 others. That's when it changed. Because it was at that point that violence was coming into the school and the victims were unintended. They just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Lori Dana didn't know the kitchen. Nothing against that child. She was mentally ill. Columbine. It was not a particular target that they were after. They were shooting randomly. And that's what we saw. What we saw most recently is the Sandy Hook case. The situation, we have these instances where violence occurs in schools. As a parent, I believe those are unimaginable, horrific events. I just can't even imagine being in the shoes of those parents who lost children. I can't imagine being the superintendent of that district, or the principal and the teachers there. It's just this unimaginable horror. But the fact is, 50 million children go to school every day in this country. And 50 million children come home safely every day. School shootings and the loss of life of school-aged children is also an issue that I believe has some element of race and poverty, the impact of race and poverty. In Chicago, we have over 100 school-aged children every year shot and killed. Over 100 every year. We don't see the president on TV weeping as it was with the Sandy Hook case. And I get it, it's not the same, there are other issues, there are neighborhood issues, and it's not happening in the school per se, but it's still a significant amount of loss of life of young people. So that's the first fact, that this is something that we've had in this country. The difference now is that the targets tend to be unintended targets. Second fact is that there are things that schools can do. The most significant activity that the school can do to prevent these kinds of disasters, in my opinion, is to have a well-coordinated, articulated emergency disaster plan that's been worked out with first responders, with the police and the fire, and trained and practiced on a regular basis. You're not going to find out if your school has one of those plans. You're not going to go to the website and see what the emergency disaster plan is. You're not going to find out. If you're the bad guy, you can't go to the website and say, oh, well, here's how they're going to respond if I come in and inflict some harm on them. But here's a proxy. Here's a way you can get a hint that the school has gone through those procedures, that they've gone through that practice, they have the communication with police and fire if you don't have first-hand information. If you just drive by a school and you see that the outside exits are numbered, or there's some way of identifying every door, every access point and exit point. Because we didn't used to do that. I started teaching at Roselle in the McKinneyville School District in 1982. We never locked the doors. Anyone could walk into any door at any time. That's the way it was. We didn't used to have the exit signs or the exit doors identified, numbered. Now we do, because that's part of our planning process with the first responders. But they need to be able to know, if they need to come to the school, if there's an incident, they need to know exactly which door it's at, where to go, where to avoid. They need that information. So that's kind of a proxy. That if you see that, you can be reasonably confident that your school has gone through that practice, that they've had those communications, those conversations with police and fire. The third fact is that technology can help. And probably the most effective technologies in schools: video, access control, and visitor management. Video for the purpose of seeing who's at the front door, assuming the office is not right there at the front door. You may also see those video cameras in hallways and around the school. I'll get to the shortcomings in a minute, but they serve some purpose. Electronic access control is a way to really maintain the integrity of the perimeter of your building. When we had all these keys floating around, as a superintendent, I was the only one without a key, basically, at school. Everyone in town had a key to the gym, because schools are the center of the community, and there's always park district, there's always groups of adults who want to come use the gym and play basketball. So everyone's got one of those keys that say "do not duplicate," and you know what they do? They duplicate it. So everyone's got a key. With the electronic access control, you can grant access through the website for a certain period of time, based on a smart card. When teachers leave at the end of the summer, or at the end of the school year, for the summer, you can deactivate their access. When they leave the employment in the district, you can deactivate their access. That's the best way. Visitor management is very effective for keeping the wrong people out of schools. If you've ever gone into a school and they've asked you for your driver's license and they've scanned it through a little machine, they're not just making a name badge for you. What they're doing as that badge is being scanned is it's being run across all the sex offender databases nationally. And if there's an alert, then it alerts to the secretary or the principal that this individual should not be gaining access to the school. So those are the three facts. The two fictions. First is that technology will solve all our problems, because technology won't. In the case of video, if something is happening in the school, something bad happening, the video tells us what happened after the fact. It helps us figure out what happened. Because the reality is, in schools, we don't have secretaries, employees, security guards manning a bank of video monitors, watching all these video cameras. This isn't like the Chicago Office of Emergency Management and Communications, where they have people who just watch these cameras all day. We don't have that in school. Someone said, well, can't the secretary monitor the screen on her desk? A person who's never been in a school recently, because there's just so much going on. So it's impractical. Video does serve the purpose when someone comes to the front door and seeks access to the building. But it doesn't really prevent an event. It tells you what happens after the fact. Second fiction is that we actually want our schools absolutely secure. Because I don't believe that we do. I really don't. This is America. We really like our freedoms. We really like the fact that schools are warm, welcoming places. They're the heart of the community. Now, if you think about in our society, where are the most secure facilities? I can think of three. Courthouses, jails, and airports. Are any of those environments similar to our schools? To an elementary school, to a high school? I don't think so. So, even if we had the most secure facilities, I don't think that as a culture, as a society, that we want that. Because it would change the culture so very much. But here's the last point that I want to make. The fairy tale. That even if we did all of these security measures, the fact is, any one of us could get into any school through the side door in 5 minutes. I guarantee it. Now, if I go up to a school anywhere in this country, walk up, if I strip naked, I'll stop there. Bang on the door, I'm not getting in. If I shave my head completely bald, wear a long black trench coat, bang on the door, I'm not getting in. But if I'm dressed like any of us are dressed, if I'm carrying a box, the box might be empty, it might be filled with marshmallows, it might be filled with guns and ammo. And if I go up to the side door and I'm struggling and I'm trying to get someone's attention to get me let me in, I guarantee you that a second grader, trained from birth to be helpful to old guys like me, will open the door and hold it for me. And maybe even scarier, the second grade teacher might open the door for me. So much of this is behavioral. That's where the training comes in. It's not just technology. It's not just the plans. It's really changing behaviors in schools. So I don't want to leave on a doom and gloom message. I want to leave with kind of the reality. Like I said, the reality is 50 million children go to school every day. 50 million children come home every day safely. And that as parents, as grandparents, as community members, it's reasonable to believe and to expect and pray that our children do come home every single day safe as they've gone off to school. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.